Hello, buddy. This is Robert Hollis. I hope you're having a wonderful and blessed day. And today's title is You Become Who You Hang Around. You become who you hang around. Now, for those of you that are watching this on stories, you can go to roberthollis.com/free and get how that working, how to leave the rat race and become free, get freedom. So, Facebook, please go out there and share with people. Hi, Craig. Hi, John. And we'll get started just in a moment. We wait for a minute for people to get on here, and I really appreciate Facebook notifying everyone. Hi, Carol. How are you? Great afternoon. Hi, Kai. Blessed Monday. And thank you, each and every one of you, for watching this live or in a replay. I really, really appreciate that. Hi, Deb. Hi, Melody. I love and appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for always being on here. Hey, Javi. Hi, Lisa Marie. Hi, Sandy. Nice to see you on here. So awesome. And we'll get started here just in a moment. Hi, Ola. Nice to see you on here. Hi, Margaret. Hi, Peter. How are you? Appreciate you. And we're after the minute in, so we'll go ahead and get started. Hi, Carol. Hello, my name is Robert Hollis. I hope you're having a wonderful and blessed day. And today's title is You Become Who You Hang Around. You become who you hang around. Now, there's also another unique thing about this that you're going to hear in a minute, but I'll never, ever forget. There was these little bombs that, hi, Aniko, hi, Sherry. There was these little bombs that my mentor would leave with me all the time. And he says, hey, Robert, I can tell you exactly how much money you'll be making 5 years from now. And I said, what? And he said, yeah, who are the 5 people that you spend the most time with? Who are the 5 people that you spend the most time with? And I was like, what? And he says, listen, man, it's in Napoleon Hill's book. That's his quote. You become who you hang around. It's one of the, OPE, OPI, OPM, OPE. Apparently, I got to do a video on that one. It was like it didn't come out the way it's supposed to. Hi, Rory. Hi, Matthew, my son. Appreciate you. Hi, Sherry. So one of the things that I want each and every one of you to know is at a time, there wasn't this thing called internet. You know what I mean? So, most or practically all of my mentors that I spent the most time with that I learned from was virtual. So you can't consistently be listening to Jim Rohn without consistently picking up those kind of pearls, So I would go out there no matter what I would do, and I would find people, like to show you I'm 60 years old. What's unique about that is I ordered personal development programs for where Bob Proctor worked, Nightingale Conant, it was the name of it. And it actually came in a catalog. You would call them and they would get your address and send you a catalog. Some people are like, what the hell is a catalog? And I would actually go through that catalog and find every person that I knew that was massively successful. And of course, I learned a lot of that stuff from Roger Penske. I would ask him, what was the best books? And, he would say Science of Getting Rich, and then Think and Grow Rich. And of course, The Greatest Miracle in the World. And these people became my mentors. So there became a time in my life where I was listening to more personal development and spending time with those people virtually, listening to them or reading, and now we get to watch videos on them. And it was the amount of time that I spent doing that changed my thoughts, which changed my perception, which changed my actions, which changed my results. And so I really started thinking about the people that were really influencing me. You know what I mean? And you'll find something very unique. Here's one thing that I think is one of the most hilarious parts about you become who you hang around. Have you ever listened to accents? the difference between people talking in one area versus another area. And I mean, think about this. A brand new baby is born and it grows up with this influence and it has that accent. That child has that accent. It's mind-boggling to me because they always hear certain words enunciated or pronounced a certain way. And so they just get that language. So me personally, been very blessed to travel all over the world. And the other thing that I notice is broken English, right? So I always get these people that apologize because of their broken English, and I'm going, listen, your broken English is better than my Spanish. Your broken English is better than my Hungarian. You always get people that learn different languages and they're constantly apologizing. But what's really unique is the broken English is in the same group of people. So you hear broken English from Africa versus broken English in Spanish or broken English in Hungarian or broken English spoken from an Asian person. It's pretty interesting. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just fascinating to me. Well, on top of that, think about the other things. See, our beliefs, our philosophy, our personal philosophy and our beliefs come from that core group of people. And so if you don't find a way to consistently pull in an outside source of information, you're pretty much stuck. And you hear people say this all the time, even though we already talked about a video earlier today. Don't even be joking around with your words. Don't be going, I'm not that smart. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. People that I know are not educated, so I didn't get educated. It is mind-boggling to me when you really listen to someone's belief. And that's where that saying came from. I love coming up with this saying. It is one of my quotes, and it's something that I got from just a mixture of everybody. I don't think that there's an original idea, but my phrase is, if what you know that you know that you know is true, and it wasn't true, when would you like to know? And of course, I shorten that up and say, if what you know isn't so, when would you like to know, right? And what's so really bizarre is how we hang on to certain programming, and certain thoughts, and the way that goes. And that's another great phrase that I love is, virtually everything that we believe to be true is not true to another perspective. What I mean by that, you go into another culture and they don't think the same way we do. They don't focus on the same things we do. And it's all because of the environment that you grow up in. So for things to change, you got to change. And when you hang around other people that sort of stimulate, like Luke Skywalker spending time with Yoda, it changes your perspective. It changes your perspective, your thoughts, your words, which change your philosophy, your personal philosophy, which changes your action, which changes your results. And people just keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, hanging around the same group of people. When I first heard this philosophy and thought from my second mentor, Bill Gould, that I write about in this book, he just asked me to do one thing. He said, Robert, I want you to do like a log, you know what I mean? Like a journal log of what you do every day. And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, what time did you get up? And, what time did you brush your teeth? And what time did you get a cup of coffee? And I want you to be very aware of your programming. I want you to be aware of your routine, your habit. And of course, part of my habit back then was not only working, but I worked around other people that were auto mechanics like me. And then when I didn't, I spent time with Terry, and I watched a lot of news. A lot of news. I don't know why. Just that, I don't know. People that I hung around must have sat there and, 5 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock turns around, time to put on the brainwash box and have a group of people tell me how awful the world is. And when I realized that, it was like, okay, if you're spending more time allowing the outside world to tell us how awful things are, how much time a day are you spending listening or watching someone like me? And it clicked for me. It just automatically clicked for me. Wow, if I spent more time on me in personal development and learning new things, I wonder if that will change my thoughts. I wonder if that will really change my perspective, my philosophy. I wonder if that will really change. And it did for me. It did for me like so fast, because it made me aware of where I was spending my time, who I was listening to, who I was being influenced by. And so when your thoughts change, your perspective, your philosophy changes, everything changes. And for us to be living in a time right now where we can plug into people, there's two ways that I've done this. One is I personally ask people who was the book, who was the personal development speaker, who was the audio, who was the coach, the trainer that really shifted their perspective. And I have a unique philosophy that I pulled out of The Science of Getting Rich. I really loved in The Science of Getting Rich where Wallace Wattles said, you know what? There's two groups of people that read a book. One group reads it. Another group studies it. Studies it, applies, and execute and masters. Right? So there are people that go, yeah, I read that book, didn't do nothing for me. You couldn't retain one thing that came out of there. So it's really, really amazing. I actually have a quiz for those of you that have read Science and Getting Rich. What I'll do is I'll make sure if you go back, I'll post it below. But I have a quiz that people can click on. I have it on Google Drive, and I have them, hey, listen, you really think you studied The Science of Getting Rich? You really think you know the principles behind that book, the philosophies behind that book? Here's a little test. And when people start reading that test, they go, how did I read this book 1, 2, maybe 3 times? What if I listened to it multiple times? And how can I do that and not retain it? Not understand. So when I say to people all the time, there's this thinking stuff from which all things are made. And I start going over and I say, you know what it says at the bottom of a lot of chapters, and it just keeps adding on a thought within this stuff. Right? And it's like, people are like, here's where I'll leave this. Is when you really are aware of how much time you're actually working on your mind, listening to other things. And for those of you that are religious and spiritual, listen to this. You guys do know there's 10 commandments, right? And then all of a sudden in 10 commandments, some people believe that there was a Muhammad or Jesus or someone that came down, and they really turned it into 2. So put no one before me. And the second one is love everyone like you love yourself. But the consistent one is if you pull closer to me, I'll pull closer to you. If you spend more time with me, I'll spend more time with you. And people are like, I wish I could become more spiritual. Well, I wish I could be, closer to people that I love. How much time on a daily basis can you log that you dedicate to prayer, that you dedicate to meditation, that you dedicate to learning from someone that influenced someone like you? So when I first heard of the science of getting rich, and I heard that, this book was the one that Andrew Carnegie read to come up with the idea of Think and Grow Rich. You heard me correctly. So he read a book that made him the wealthiest person in the world. And with that influence, he asked Napoleon Hill to do interviews with all these influential people to find out what the 3 top ideas were. What are things that these people did that was consistent? You know what one of them are? Other people's ideas. OPI. The ability to say, wow, what was the path that this guy took? What was the path that this lady took? And this used to be a thing where they called it the secret. I called it the secret behind the secret. But if all of a sudden I heard that, Steve Jobs read the book, Bill Gates read the book, Andrew Carnegie, wealthiest person in the world. And all of a sudden you started hearing these people that all said, man, this book changed my perspective, changed my thinking, and changed everything in my life. You know what? I think that I want to master that book. That's a book that I believe that I need to master. And most people, if I said, hey, the one thought, being creative instead of competitive. So when I started hanging around and listening to and studying things that other people told me that worked, the one that, if you guys know me really well, Rhonda Byrne, that actually wrote The Secret, did the movie The Secret. She read that book, her daughter gave it to her. She read that book, and her first thing she said, oh my God, I wonder how many people know this. And when she found out and got on Oprah, and she got on Larry King, and she got on Ellen DeGeneres, and she's got on all these shows because she studied the stuff that was in Science of Getting Rich. And then she said, I'm going to go out there and share it with the world. Well, when she started reaching out and finding who read that book, they gave it credit, and she found out that Bob Proctor did, Napoleon Hill did, that Conant did, that, oh my God, Zig Ziglar did, that Jim Rohn did, that Esther Hicks did. Esther Hicks was on the very first Secret. So let me tell you guys how weird I am. I'm okay with being weird and telling you this. When I figured this little clue out, if you notice, all the people that spoke and taught on The Secret became my new best friends. Now, they didn't know that. Did you guys hear what I just said? They didn't know that I spent hours a week with these new people. I wanted to know how they thought, what was their philosophy, how they felt, how they acted, how they were able to do what they did. And I found the ones that fit my personality and bought everything that they had. Well, wait a minute. Nowadays, you can find it on YouTube. You can put in their name like Esther Hicks or Abraham Hicks. There's no way that you have enough time to go through all the teachings that are online with her. You don't. But what if you're spending 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour with these people that are fulfilled, happy, full of love, have empathy, compassion, love. Wow. What if you were spending more time with them than you were with people that made you feel not good, that made you feel guilty, people that beat you up, are sarcastic? You know what I mean? They're constantly criticizing you, that are saying bad things about you. Interesting, huh? So all I did, I was pretty lucky. I got to limit my time with the people that didn't make me feel good, spend all my time with people that made me feel good, and all of a sudden, the things they told me, I started to believe. And when I believed them, then I activated the same thing they said would be activated, and I started drawing these people to me. And what was neat at the beginning, when I didn't know the information, I wasn't a master at it, I wasn't applying it every day, then guess what I did? I would find people and I would connect them with the teaching. Some people learn faster. Some people are on different paths of their journey. And for me to be honored and blessed and grateful to actually find people that want to take their lives to the next level, so they plug in with me. So each and every one of you, you can change everything about you. I love that phrase, you know? It's like, you know what the difference, the main huge difference is between poor and unhappy people? And listen closely, rich people having a rich life that are happy and free and fulfilled. The biggest difference between the two is how they spend their time. What they're doing with their time every day. They're very, very conscious of the time that they spend plugging in to a higher level of who they are, taking their lives, raising their standards, changing the way they are aware of things so that they can start helping other people get that. You can't help a lot of people change their awareness without having your whole entire life change forever. See? So you don't want to be the teacher of this information. Can you guys imagine, in closing, if I just wanted to teach you guys out of this book? I'm not interested in teaching you out of this book. I'm interested in finding the right people at the right time in their lives that get this information and apply it, and bam, their whole life changes. I'm not interested in you know, Think and Grow, teaching you stuff how to think and grow rich, or science of getting rich, or how to have an extraordinary life, Money and the Law of Attraction by Esther and Jerry Hicks. See, I'm not interested in being them. I want to be Robert Hollis. And I want to tell you the books and the stuff that changed my life. Are you guys hearing me? And so you will either be at the right place at the right time in your life, or you won't. That's as simple as it is. So I love and appreciate each and every one of you. Do me a huge personal favor and share this video with the world. I'd really, really appreciate it. And really become conscious of who you're hanging around. Maybe you should write it someplace, you know, and go, you know, wow, let me take a little journal to see what I spend most of my time doing. And it won't surprise you, or maybe it will really surprise you when you realize how much time you're spending with people that are not dreamers, people that are not optimists, people that are not high energy. So I love and appreciate you. I'll see you on the next video. And if no one's giving you permission to succeed in life, let me be the first. Take care. God bless and have a great day.